Present is a fleeting and vague concept at best. The moment between the past and the future? That doesn't really mean anything. Thinking too much about things that don't make sense is a waste of time. That's why living through the present is always the best option. Besides, for us who can't foresee the future and forget the past too easily, present is really the only proof of our existence. Even though existence will go on even if you forget about it for a while, it's good to seize the day at least every once in a while. That way, you can confirm that you are, in fact, alive. Recently, my phone has been sending me these notifications. Hey, here's a collage of memories from 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. A reminder stating, hey, this is what you were doing on this date, at this time. Isn't it thrilling? I'm not sure thrilling is the word I would use, but I've appreciated the chance to look back at these pictures from my past. From my first day in my college dorm, to offhand photos of my college days, my time during COVID, my memories of when I was working at my first job, pictures of my brother's dog, and there are so many of those. Photos from that period of my life when I was unemployed, and recent photos from my move. Now I'm about 6 months into my new life, and memories and people of the past continue to spring up in the present. The photos remind me of carefree days, as a window into simpler times, of all sorts of emotions: apathy, contentment, glee, devastation, melancholy, despondence, and more. And then it struck me. All of these memories of mine, all of these vignettes frozen in time that make life the experience it is. Sometimes I wonder if I really lived through these vignettes I see. Did I really seize the day? Was I ever really alive? As defined by a Google search, a vignette is a brief, evocative description, account, or episode. To add on some extra clarification, a vignette is a short and descriptive piece of writing that captures a brief period in time, focusing more on imagery and meaning rather than plot. And when these photos are mixed with the musings in my journals and reflections, to be honest, they kind of scare me. The vignettes remind me of a person that I don't recognize anymore. Or, sometimes, of a person I know all too well. Vignettes are essentially a snapshot into a person's life. I think there's something really beautiful in witnessing a brief window of time into someone else's life, fictional or not. More than anything else, it invokes the instantaneous period of time which we call the present. When I rewatch my video essays, it's as if the feelings that overtook me then make a return, bringing me back to an era when my ideas were in their infancy. A jumbled mess that flickered, coalesced, and separated, until I refined them through careful cultivation and development. They remind me that maybe I did seize the day after all. I'd like to share 4 things that are particularly meaningful to me and embody the idea of seizing the day. And for me, have changed my perspective on seeing normality in a new light. My hope is that you will experience at least one of them, if not all of them. They're also all free or only cost a few dollars, which I hope convince you to give them a try. I won't be talking about any spoilers other than what you would find in the synopsis or summary sections if you look them up on the internet, so rest assured that you won't be spoiled here in this video. Florence is an interactive story game developed by Mountains, released in February of 2018, though I first played it in August. It is not a particularly complex story. The reader plays through a portion of the titular character's life. It features virtually no written dialogue and is told through a series of vignettes that are arranged in chapters. It is simplistic, but beautifully conveys communication and emotion without ever outright speaking. The game opens in the first chapter, titled Adult Life. I vividly remember smirking to myself when I saw the title, as Florence Yo, age 25, hits the snooze button on her alarm multiple times. First it's 7 a.m., then 7:15 a.m. Resemblance to my present life felt uncanny. Though I don't want to be that meme related to the blue curtains, of which an English teacher rails off a significant amount of exposition for the meanings of blue curtains within a story, when the original meaning of the curtains was, well, the curtains were effing blue. But in this case, I am the English teacher. There's a distinct lack of color in the early segments, a whole lot of black, white, gray, and pale pastel blue. Even in conversation with someone she loves, her mother, is painted in these colors. I chuckled to myself that the conversation was very much like the ones I've had with my own mother throughout my college and young adult life. Full of reluctance, repeated phrases, yes, I'll make sure to do XYZ, yes, Mom, I promise I'm doing ABC, phrases like that, while secretly hoping the call might come to an end sooner. Sorry, Mom. I'll do better. The lack of color infects her tray of sushi, illuminated by the fluorescence of the TV set playing an evening program. She checks the clock. Time to brush her teeth and go to sleep. And so her adult life continues. So what catalyzes the return of color, of vibrance, of excitement to her life? I won't spoil anything more, but what I can speak to is an element which gives my life color. For all of us, the chapters of our lives are marked by the occurrences of certain big events. School and university offer a convenient end to the chapters of adolescence. Graduating kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, college. Some other big events that might shortly follow graduation might be something like marriage or the birth of a child. But I find that my life is separated by the people I've met or what I spent my time doing during that chapter of my life. People and interests came and went. Perhaps some stayed longer than others, some merely a blip, others phased themselves out, but the result was the same. Whether rapidly or slowly, either and both vanished as if they had never existed. But for the people and interests that became fixtures and memories I held on to, even if they didn't end up sticking around, well, I can undoubtedly say that they returned or continue to paint my life in so many colors. When I spent time with them, or I was immersing myself in that interest, I felt fulfilled, like I had seized the day. Florence evokes these familiar feelings throughout its playtime. Hyouka is... well, it's a curious show, to put it mildly. If there was a series that would be for a very particular group of people, I think it would be this one. It is unlike any other show that I have watched, and there are quite a wide variety of opinions on it. Hyouka is a slice-of-life anime from 2012 that is one season of 22 episodes. To paraphrase a common idea that many others have spoken of, and one that I wholeheartedly agree with, Hyouka speaks to the significance of the mundane. It is terrific at making the most mundane and common situations fascinating. If one were to simplify the plot of Hyouka into a too long didn't read format, I think the synopsis would be something like this. 4 high schoolers live out their days following mysteries, which, in the grand scheme of things, are utterly trivial. What mysteries, you ask? These mysteries range from a strange melody coming from the music room, to a strange shadow seen in the window of an inn, to trying to figure out why a middle school teacher was so fascinated by helicopters in a random anecdote. But there's so much more to it than that. And while the show is certainly not going to be for everyone, I must admit that on my first watch, it was difficult for me to focus and see meaning since I was so concentrated on the plot, which, as per the slice-of-life genre, isn't usually compelling. But in my rewatch of Hyouka for this video, more than a few things struck me as incredibly important. To expand on my quote from earlier regarding the mundane, Hyouka is a show all about the present. One of the main characters that embodies this very idea is Chitanda Eru, whose singular curiosity and energy often drive the episodes forward. Something that really stuck out to me was this quote. "It's true that 10 years from now, I might not care, but the feelings that I'm having now, there's something that I don't want to think will mean nothing in the future. After all, it's the present I'm living in." That even when questioned by the other main character about the lifespan of these fleeting events, she can fall back on this idea. She pursues them with the hope that they'll still have importance to her in the future. It's beautiful to watch the members of the Classic Lit Club embody the importance of the present each in their own way. But this change is especially profound in the main character, Oreki Hotaro. Not to say that his personality takes a 180, but he starts to think through all of these little moments throughout the series, that maybe he, the energy conservationist, he of the motto, "If I don't have to do something, I don't do it. If I have to do something, I do it quickly." He of the grey life, perchance he, Oreki Hotaro, can seek out a rose-colored life of his own after witnessing the rose-colored lives of other characters. Rather than numbing himself, maybe there is merit to living through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. I think we can all take something away from that. I certainly started thinking seriously about myself after watching Hyouka. Development and growth, unfortunately, are almost never like in the legends, of a grandiose moment where the hero pulls the sword from the stone and becomes the chosen one. Though our growth may not catalyze in a moment quite like that, I feel confident in stating that the experiences and feelings in our present lives will culminate in a moment where we're happy to be living a rose-colored life after all, even if we didn't hold every single one tight. When I navigated to the website of this little game, I quickly fixated on a sentence in the description. The author went so far as to place it next to the words, "General hint." The game only lasts 5 minutes. If you don't get the point at first, please keep playing. I actually first encountered Passage via metadating, which also happens to be the web show that introduced me to Katawa Shoujo. But I digress. Simplistic as it may be, Passage is overwhelmingly worth the 5 minutes it takes to play. Originally created for Kokoromi's Gamma 256 event at the 2007 Montreal International Games Summit, Passage is strange. Invented from 2 impactful moments in the creator's life: the death of an elderly neighbor, and his own ever-changing life circumstances after starting a family. The game window is only 100 by 16 pixels, with the final game coming in at about 2 megabytes of space. To fully understand the magnitude of how small of a game that is, the Discord executable you downloaded to install Discord is about 65.6 megabytes. That's about 33 passages. Passage is one of those games that you have to play yourself. Me talking about it simply won't do it justice, and hearing about it certainly won't evoke the same meaning for you as it did for me. To describe how I played it and how it affected me is to spoil it. But what I can say is that Passage is one of the foremost examples of how video games express meaning through a medium of interactivity. The player or user has to directly interact with the medium in order for the experience to continue. Passage is an experience in which interaction and engagement is paramount. What you put into it is what you'll get out of it. I've shared it with several different people, and they all had profoundly personal experiences with it. And so I invite you to give it a try too. This is once again my shameless plug to convince you to play Katawa Shoujo, but specifically Rin's route. I'm not going to speak too much about how to get there, or really about the entirety of the game itself. If you want my overview and general thoughts of the visual novel itself, feel free to watch my video on how it changed my life. My feelings on Rin's route are quite subjective, as feelings and opinions are. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, I imagine my feelings are fairly clear considering I've used a few of her quotes and some footage from her route in several videos. It is a fairly divisive route. People either love it or absolutely hate it, as Rin is the type of person that I suspect most would never fall in love with. And I, like some others, only truly connected with it on my second read. It is a route about depression and despair, loneliness and isolation, the medium and nature of art, and what it means to be truly alive, what it means to seize the day. And certainly, for self-reflective purposes, it made me think of so much more, especially through the lens of seasonal or mundane activities. Watching a series of fireworks, sitting underneath a tree, watching dandelions blow in the wind, or exploring the streets of a city at night. All of those activities are so breathtaking when broken down, but are treated as so utterly mundane. I can't claim that the route contains the most beautiful prose, or that it stands tall amongst the world's greatest pieces of literature. But believe me when I say that almost nothing has impacted me as much as Rin's route. And every time I read it, it reaffirms and retains that power to strike at my very core, just as it did on the first time I truly connected with it. When someone experiences something really meaningful and profound, they want to tell others about it, to share their experience in a variety of ways. Isn't that why authors, musicians, artists, they all try to utilize the beauty of the abstract to convey what the spoken word often cannot? In these videos, I can tell you of what I see, of the connections I made, and to describe these things to you. But if the topics of my videos aren't profound or meaningful to you, there's really nothing I can do, since meaning is something only you can attribute to something. It's something only you and I can assign, each in our own way, with a varying amount of importance. Personally, nothing can quite embody the feeling of wanting to do better, of seizing the day, and proving you're alive quite like Rin's route. I want to conclude this video with the quote from the very beginning. Present is a fleeting and vague concept at best. The moment between the past and the future? That doesn't really mean anything. Thinking too much about things that don't make sense is a waste of time. That's why living through the present is always the best option. Besides, for us who can't foresee the future and forget the past too easily, present is really the only proof of our existence. Even though existence will go on even if you forget about it for a while, it's good to seize the day at least every once in a while. That way, you can confirm that you are in fact alive. The 4 topics I spoke of earlier, of Florence, Hyouka, Passage, and Rin's route. I only scratched the surface in speaking about them, but they all in some way explore the idea of living in the here and now. I think I need to clarify the title of this video, To Seize the Day. I don't mean to speak of hustling, hurrying, sprinting, and acting without thinking. I speak of taking a moment. To borrow my friend Connor's words, sometimes you just have to stop and smell the roses. Seizing the day has a lot of different connotations. To understand that living in the past isn't really living. To hold tightly to the feelings and experience in the present with the hope that 10 years from now, they'll still remain important. How, in the pursuit of a goal, we might completely dismiss the present and sprint towards the future, when the only real achievement we'll obtain after the mirage fades will be a profound sense of emptiness. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes I wonder if I was really living at all. But these pictures, videos, physical objects I still hold tightly in my possession. They serve as a reminder, as a proof of my existence that those moments were once my present. That encompassed in these objects, I fully seized the day, and captured in it something I could treasure for the rest of my life. I was able to confirm that I was alive. The reality is that there are things all around us that can and will confirm that we are alive. However, the question remains, are we willing to take those opportunities? Are we willing to seize the day, to prove our existence? and to not mourn the brevity of their passage. More than ever before, I've become overwhelmingly aware of the value of time, how easily it can slip through my fingers like grains of sand, and how quickly it can come to an abrupt end. So, with that being said, why not seize the day every once in a while? To let go of both the past and future and to just be. Because as the quote says, having a moment in the present is one of the only ways to confirm that you are in fact alive. Hey there. Long time no see. I hope you enjoyed the longer video. I originally was only going to talk about Florence. The video expanded quite a bit to include Hyouka, Passage, and Rin's route. Hopefully it was a productive change. It's certainly been a long time since my last upload, which was in July. I always find these outros somewhat cathartic in that sense. That's probably because between each of them, so much has happened. I've actually been working on another major personal project in addition to the video recently, so that's taken up a lot of my time. Ideally, once I have something to showcase or talk about, I will. You can be on the lookout for that. With that being said, I hope you're doing alright. I hope you're doing well, that you'll take the chances you have to seize the day, and that you'll tell your loved ones how much you appreciate them. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.